Hello, my name is Jean-Michel Jefferson, and together with my wife Karen we founded Ahipara Travel about 20 or so years ago. We didn't come from the travel industry and started with a fresh focus on what travellers actually wanted. So my particular focus is going deep. My background was as the son of a diplomat in North Africa and the Middle East, having coffee with Berber jewellers in the Atlas Mountains, and that's what I wanted to bring travellers to New Zealand. So we focus of course on what I call the luxury basics, and the luxury basics are an in-depth knowledge of the accommodation in the country and expertise around logistics, and then we go deeper. And deeper are the life-changing days, the days that are commented on at the end of the trips, the special people that we put in front of clients. Probably half of what our clients do in the country is commercially available, and probably half is not. Special stuff that we've often created with special people.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of room around here.
New Zealand is actually bigger than it can seem. When you look at it on a map in the middle of the Pacific Ocean next to Australia, it can look like a small island, but this island, or these two islands rather, are larger than the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland. It's about the length of Italy or the eastern seaboard of the US. So we're not dealing with a small Pacific island here, we're dealing with a couple of medium-sized Pacific islands. To get around them takes a bit of doing as well. We don't tend to have motorways here, so it takes a while to get from one place to another. To drive from the top of the North Island to the bottom of the North Island, you're looking about 16 hours non-stop, which isn't most people's idea of a holiday. And again, South Island, you're looking at about the same, 16 odd hours. So when clients come to us, they say, New Zealand's a long, long way away, we're only going to come once, and we want to see everything, and we've got 10 days. First thing we say is, I'm afraid that's just not possible. I've calculated maybe 15 really different geographic areas that each have a different story to tell. So if you're looking at spending 3 nights in each one of those 15 special areas, that comes up to a total of 45 days. No one has 45 days to visit New Zealand. So immediately, the first thing that we do when we speak with our clients is talk about prioritization. What do you enjoy doing? What in New Zealand do you want to see? And then we start focusing in on what is the best for that particular client to see. So it's very much led by client interest, because as I mentioned, each one of these areas is well worth visiting. The North Island is like a different country to the South Island. So there's another question I'm often asked is, the internet says I should go and see the South Island, what do you think? I say no, you want to see both. The North Island is something totally different, and it's well worth seeing for a number of different reasons. In 20 years, the feedback from everyone I've given that advice to has been, yes, it was good to see both. Okay, so what is there on both? North Island is much more Pacific. North here means warmer. So way up here, the winterless north, you're looking at beaches, phenomenal beaches, monster, beautifully clear beaches with no one on them. Off the coast, we've got world record game fishing. And then the diving up here, Jacques Cousteau's only non-tropical dive site in his top 10 is up there as well. So that's the far north. Auckland, pretty funky. The vibrant dining scene. The dining scene in New Zealand favours the importation, let's say, of influences from around the world. So it started out with Italian fusion, moved into French fusion, gone into Asian fusion. So a combination of cuisines from around the world together with very, very fresh produce have given rise to a very cool dining scene in Auckland. I'm always happy to visit Auckland and see what's happened there since I was last there. It's a cool scene. This side of Auckland is part of the reason that we have so many internationally competitive sailors coming from New Zealand. It's a sailor's playground, absolutely beautiful, and a day on the Hauraki Gulf feels like a day in paradise. Meanwhile, on the other side of Auckland, on the wild west coast, there was a movie called The Piano that came out a number of years ago, and Black Sand Beach, sort of ominous, crashing surf and so on. That's the west coast of Auckland. So Auckland, that the internet will tell you to avoid, is actually pretty cool. The next key main area would be the area around Taupo here. This is where we do a lot of our Maori activities, and it's also the geothermal centre of New Zealand. So volcanoes, multicoloured muds and so on, tropical rainforest, and it's also where we do our Maori activities. So the South Island, as you can see from the map, is bigger than the North Island. Just a word on population. Total population of New Zealand, and I'm always out of date on this, is about 5 million. 3.5 million North Island, 1.5 million South Island. So that's why the internet tells you to go to the South Island, because you've got big empty roads, and people quite like that, and it's fairly obvious. So South Island, totally different, more like Colorado. You've got the backbone here of the Southern Alps coming all the way through the South Island, braided rivers, huge great mountains, fjords. This is where most of the good hikes are on the South Island. There's some very good ones on the North Island, but the top end ones would be on the South Island. Very good rafting on the South Island. New Zealand has the most helicopters per capita of anywhere in the world. Part of the reason is the terrain. So what can be a 4-hour road trip can be done by about an hour by helicopter. And down here in this part of the world, if people have only got 1 or 2 helicopter trips in them when they come to New Zealand, this is the place to do it. There's only one road through this huge bit of land here, and you've got Fjordland, which will be like National Geographic, great big sounds, feel like you're at the ends of the earth. And then coming up into Southwestland, Greenstone area, equally beautiful. We recommend both of them very, very highly. And then over on this side here, you would have penguins, albatrosses, seals, sea lions, and so on over here. So the key thing that makes us different to most people who provide travel in New Zealand is how deep we go in our activities. So what does that mean? One of our key aspects in terms of activities is the work that we do with Māori. Māori are the First Nation of New Zealand, indigenous culture, and very deep, colourful, best friend you can have, not a good enemy to have. And we've done with them, we have a Māori, we have a master carver, Delaney Brown, who lives up here, and we've been working with Delaney for I think about 15 years now. A lot of the pieces in the centre of town are his. He's now renowned throughout the country. Māori carving is something really quite special, as people will have seen through the tattoos on the All Blacks and so on. Māori design has got quite a following in the world. So he'd be one thing we would really recommend. The Māori welcome also is very special. We've done food with Māori, weaving with Māori, foraging with Māori, hunting with Māori, fishing with Māori. So anything that's possible to do we have done, and all these things are not normally sort of commercially available, so it's the real thing. You wake up in the morning in your luxury lodge, go out and you're in the middle of nowhere with real people, and then you come back to your luxury lodge. That's our sort of style. In terms of other sorts of activities, down here there's a winemaker, absolutely phenomenal. You can imagine as a solo operator, he built up one patch of ground into now quite a big company that, well, not big, probably small by most standards company, producing wine from about 6 different vineyards. There's 2 major wine shows in the world, the Los Angeles Wine Fair and the London Wine Fair. At the London International Wine Fair, this man has won the prize for Best Pinot 4 times. Imagine that. Homegrown, self-funded from New Zealand, Best Pinot in London, in the world 4 times. It's ridiculous. Really cool guy, very good wines. So that's an example of the depth we can go to in wines. We know the winemakers, we know the founders, and we know the places, so any interest in wine we can accommodate. We've helped people buy vineyards in the past. Another thing that is more popular these days than it used to be is spirituality. Through our time with Māori, we were introduced to Māori spirituality, and we have a good understanding of the country spiritually. This place here, Lake Taupō, is actually the heart chakra of New Zealand. Again, we had a client interested in windsurfing, picked up the phone, next minute they were windsurfing with an Olympic gold medalist. So whatever the interest of a client, even if we haven't done it before, we can often provide someone highly specialised and highly qualified to spend time with them. Just here, Lake Hawea, lives a lady who was the first lady to climb Everest with no oxygen. She has worked as a guide for us. Unfortunately, she's often up in Nepal, but she is around from time to time. We had one client who was president of the Belgian Philatelic Society. His favourite day in New Zealand was here in our National Museum in the archives looking over stamps. So the point that I'm trying to make here is we don't pick up commercially available things from brochure drops in tourist centres. We go out and we find really good people who relate directly to what clients want to experience. So quite different in how we approach giving people experience. In terms of accommodation, a lot of people are familiar with the New Zealand luxury lodge scene, but there is more available in the country. So when our clients talk to us and say, what is there or what would you recommend, we actually recommend mixing it up a little bit. So for some clients, of course, you'd want to keep to the luxury lodges because that's what they want, but others have quite enjoyed going to a 4-star bed and breakfast, and then a 5-star boutique hotel, and then a luxury lodge, and then maybe a villa at some point or an apartment. So all those levels are available, and the great thing about them is that we can hit a number of different budget levels by varying the accommodation. So the big drivers on budget are accommodation and helicopters. So you use a lot of helicopters, your budget's going up. You use a lot of luxury accommodation, your budget's going up. So by flexing those, you can hit a number of different budgets. So what does that mean? What that means is a hooker lodge, for example, 4,000 New Zealand dollars a night, 2,000 euro, $3,000 US, that rough sort of cost. But when you've got a 4.5-star product down here, there's a little place called Wild Earth Lodge, 2-bedroom, owner-operated, stunning views, very well operated with sensitivity, and that's going at $400 a night, 200 euro, 300 US. So I would love it if there was places like that everywhere around the country, but there aren't. So that's just to say that there's a huge variety of accommodation available in New Zealand, and they can be tailored to client interests. So I hope you've enjoyed our brief overview of New Zealand. We've actually only covered a small amount of what the country has to offer. I'll leave you with one anecdote. About 15 years ago we were approached by the Rob Report to feature in an article about the 10 best DMCs in the world, and they asked me for our ultimate itinerary. A couple of weeks later they rang back and said, "Where is this? Aren't you interested?" I said, "I can't do it." And they said, "Why is that?" I said, "What's ultimate for one person is a pile of rubbish for the next." So what gives an itinerary life is client knowledge. So that's what we need. And that's why every single one of our itineraries for the last 20 years has been different.